corners, actually. It would be a painful place to kick your knee into.
I found it.
You did. There's two. It's very elusive. If you want to coin the parlance, so you should look right there, because that looks like that hurt a lot.
Welcome to the Elusive History Podcast. You found us!
And my wife also found the corner of the recording desk.
We are a hard-to-find history podcast. Harder to find than ice water in Death Valley.
Oh.
I'm your host, hermit horse whisperer and lover of lasagna, Lyndsay Burnett.
Wow. And I'm your other host, unofficial born leader of the subterranean realm, and bird enthusiast, Levi Vanscoy.
At the top of the show, now in fact, is where we like to hand out an existential warning.
Here you go.
Listen, some of this stuff isn't super good for your mental health. So, if you need to take a break and go touch grass, listen, we get it. Some of this stuff can be pretty rough.
And it often is.
Yeah.
I mean, not this time. This time is just like a railroad to nowhere. So, I mean, a lot of people died, so we can't forget that part.
Right.
And a lot of people cooled each other off with their mouths.
Yeah, from part one.
Yeah.
Nice callback.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, a little recap from part one.
Oh, we're not gonna banter with each other.
Oh.
Where have we gone in our relationship where we don't talk anymore? We don't banter anymore.
Well, banter away, my darling.
So I've decided to start to graduate from lightsabers to fire. Like, I want to start fire twirling. Instead of double-bladed lightsaber twirling, I want to get into fire twirling. And I've been looking into that lately.
That's such a fire sign move. It's the middle of summer. We're in a heat wave. Let's play with fire.
Well, I mean, if
I'm
I
here for it.
honestly, I'd play with fire year-round. But it did strike me in the hottest time of the year when the ground itself is on fire. So it's fine.
Luckily, we're in the desert where, there's not much you can catch on fire.
Except for the desert, which often catches on fire. Which is on fire right now. So if you're in the desert and it's on fire, especially New Mexico, our heart goes out to you.
Yeah, California.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of tough stuff that's been happening recently.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be doing this second part of this episode, because it's like 100 years away, in the past of tough stuff. Kind of helps.
Still the same story.
Oh, God. Well, I was going to say kind of helps that, it was 100 years ago, and then you went, still the same story, and I'm like, oh, God, here it is, existential. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the existential dread part comes in, because greedy people be doing shit, and some of that shit don't make any sense. Like, it's like rocket races. Instead of, if you want to look at it like the railroad to nowhere, the TNT, is just like Bezos and Elon Musk and Blue Horizon and the Starlink and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing, because they're not going anywhere. It's officially a road to nowhere. They're not like, hey, maybe we should go find out what's in the rest of the universe. They're like, what we need to do is we need to take advantage of this global gold rush. And like, honestly, it's exactly the same story. All we need is that lady that like carried cows around in the town to be there. The one that washed in the front yard.
Which we'll get to.
Oh,
yep.
That's it. That's all we need is one of those, and the story is complete.
I mean, I guess I could do that, but...
You could do that. You want me to spray you off?
It's getting hot. It's getting hot.
It's
so maybe,
really hot.
But we don't have a hose.
I could just spit on you.
Okay.
Like the old way.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'd call back to the last episode. I could cool you off with my mouth, baby.
I still can't get the smell in my head, the idea away from having to be cooled off by somebody else's mouth, and the smell that would leave you in a very hot desert. Yeah, just... Anyways.
Do toilette of mango smoothie.
Oh.
Yeah. Perfume of mango smoothie.
How'd you get a mango out here? Never you mind.
Never you mind. Okay. What's up?
So.
Yes.
Since we've been recapping on part one.
Might as well get right into the recap.
Might as well.
I wish we had like a flashback so that we could just be like previously on.
One of these days I'm going to be able to get smart enough to learn how to add those sounds in there. I'm going to do it, I swear.
I could just do like the wipe sound with my mouth, like.
That was Nice Doppler effect.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in part 2 here, the venture into the tale of Tonopah and Tidewater Railway, Smith got his start and his money in the 1880s by mining borax and successfully getting it from the middle of nowhere to where it could be processed.
Because it's almost always in the middle of nowhere, because borax comes out of the ground.
It does.
It does. It's also used for soap, engineering, mining.
Don't they even use it for making glass?
They do.
Yeah.
It's actually really important for making stained glass. God, it's used in shipping. It's used in making ships. They use it to harden steel. They use it. You saw when I was making my knife in there. I used borax to take all the impurities off my blade. I mean, borax does so much stuff.
So basically, it was utilized heavily during the Industrial Revolution.
Especially during the Industrial Revolution. After that time, usage kind of fell off to basically, I don't know, making soap and other chemical processes they need, because there's artificial ways of making.
Now.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
But back then, it was not easy to get. And the people that mine this stuff, I can't say this enough, the people that took this stuff out of the ground, imagine being in a rock tunnel of like the most eye-stinging, burning, lung-burning shit that you can be around.
Because it's very abrasive.
Yes.
Right, the dust from it.
That's right. And nobody's wearing goggles.
No masks.
No masks. You can barely breathe. And there's horses down there. There's full-size horses down there pulling carts.
And the light is not battery, it's flame.
It's flame. And so if you hit a gas pocket, everybody's dead. It was an incredibly terrifying way to make a living in this country.
And people had to go a very long distance even to get to the mines.
And just to go blind from working in those mines
Right.
after traveling from places like Chicago, New York, and, or let's be honest, Ireland.
Right, even further. Yeah, exactly.
Coming out here just to go blind, working in a mine for like 2 or 3 years.
Right. Well,
Anyway.
it's crazy, but it's very helpful to know the history of what made America and the rest of the world what it is, you know? All the countless lives that went into...
Unsung heroes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So... Right, so Smith got his start in borax, but he also had other money-making ventures. In Oakland, California, he had a railroad and rail lines for industry involvement. He was an entrepreneur that believed railroads would be the key to growing his fortune, which was a small smog pile.
Nice.
Thank you. Smaug. Yeah, a small smaug pile. Say that one 3 times fast.
That one.
He had a massive mansion in New York and in Oakland.
And in Oakland?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
back then, that was a lot.
That was a flex. Yeah.
That was a flex. That was a hard flex.
The estate in California, the one in Oakland, was 3 stories tall and boasted over 40 rooms. Like, the pictures of this thing was insane.
That's like the Winchester Mansion. Yeah.
Sitting on a 25-acre, beautifully maintained piece of paradise. He even had the shack that he built in the desert where he struck his first borax claim, hauled from the desert to sit next to his sprawling Oakland mansion.
And it's going to come into the story later when nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, I just put it in right here, which incidentally, when his estate was auctioned off after his death, spoiler alert, he is no longer with us.
He's not the Highlander? He's not the one?
He is not the one.
Okay.
There were no bidders on the shack, and it was taken down.
Like, did they... Okay. But, I mean, did they take the pieces and move it somewhere else? Or
Actually,
did they just throw it away?
No. From everything that I could find out, it was demolished.
So they're basically the physical manifestation of, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't want your shack. Nobody wants it.
It's ugly.
Break it.
What's wrong with you?
Shut up.
Yeah.
I don't like you.
In part 1 of our tale of the TNT Railway, we left off with William Washington Cahill, or Wash, the man in charge of overseeing the work on the Tonopah and Tidewater Railway, finally breaking through the Armagosa Canyon.
After the aforementioned mouth spitting or mouth conditioning. Mouth or water?
No, I don't even know what that would be.
Spit conditioning.
Not torture, but
Well, I mean,
seems
like air
it.
conditioning, but using spit.
Wouldn't even be misting, would it?
I
No,
wouldn't
just
mist
spitting.
it.
Yeah.
Just spitting. Okay.
So, you remember that that Cahill told Smith multiple times?
6 weeks.
Yeah, we expect to be out of the canyon in 6 weeks. And it took them 6 months.
Your old-timey accent is amazing.
Well, thank you. I worked on it. Instead, it took them 6 months to finish the last mile of the backbreaking, desperately difficult work of quarrying through a stone canyon wall by hand.
Yeah, it was not easy work.
No.
Not easy work.
No, they did it with a hammer and a pick
drill.
sack. Or a hand drill, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took 2 people to go through and bust the rock up, and then 2 more people to move it. It's just a lot.
And for whatever reason, mostly because of Clark, there was a shortage of dynamite. So they weren't even able to, like, blast the rock. Because Clark had made dynamite artificially scarce on the West Coast in that time.
That guy was such a bastard.
Such a bastard.
You gotta stop for a second and think of the sheer psychotic determination of these people who literally moved mountains through desolate valleys to make their, or someone's, dream a reality. Gambling fortunes and lives on the ability to profit off bringing people to and from boomtowns.
Right. Well, and the ore from those boom towns. Like the gold and silver ore.
Right. It was... all of it was money to them.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of determination, I forgot to mention a humorous thing we left out last week.
Uh-oh.
So you know how Francis Marion Smith, the Borax King, and William A. Clark, the Copper King...
Yeah, say a copper, say.
I love when you do that. So you remember when they sat down over some brandy at the exclusive Pacific Union Club of San Francisco?
I do remember that. I was there. I was wearing clothes.
Okay.
All right.
So shortly after that handshake, it all went to shit because Clark didn't really plan to work with Smith, but use his grading for free. Well, Smith was so perturbed with the absentee senator, in fact, after being told by Clark's people that they didn't know where Clark was, that Smith, after being told Clark was in Paris, had one of his men, Ryan Rasser,
Yeah, Ryan.
Yep, wait on the pier every single day for a month.
Just so he could, like, talk to him the second he stepped off the boat, like, and another thing.
Exactly. When Clark finally did arrive, Ryan confronted Clark while he was coming off the ship. So he, like, ran up the gangplank. So I'm guessing Ryan ran up and was like, yo, there you are, you dodgy bastard. But Clark was like, you see, we had no formal agreement, and I changed my mind.
You gotta use your old-timey voice for that.
Well, you see.
You see, we had no formal agreement. I changed my mind.
Well, there you go. That one worked just as
You
good.
gotta use the old-timey, like it's playing over like a gramophone, like pop your voice, like
Well, you
vinyl.
see,
Yeah.
we had no formal agreement, and I changed my mind.
Mr. Beauregard, I do declare. I'm just loving all these personalities that are coming out of you.
I'm trying, but I don't know what it is. Anyways, telling Ryan that Smith might as well build his own line from Las Vegas to Tonopah.
That's why anybody listening to this podcast right now, if you get into any agreement with anybody over anything, write it down. Take a picture. Record it. Do something. Because listen, a handshake, it doesn't mean anything. Like people would say, it doesn't mean what it used to. It never meant anything.
It never meant anything. Except for to dupe those who are trusting.
Enough to go by a handshake.
Exactly. Yeah. And then guess what?
Guess what?
Yeah. Rug gets pulled. Real original. So, anyways, Smith did go and make his own line.
He was like, I might as well do it myself. I might as well make my own railroad. Because he had already made a small gauge railroad to one of his mines to a spur of another railroad. So, like, he was already like, yeah,
but in California.
Right.
Right.
Now, that was rewinding to that moment that we missed in the last podcast.
In part one?
Yeah, so now we're going to hit the fast forward button. And we're back in the present. See? That's how I know what the handshake looked like, because
There we go.
time travel.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So anyways. Back to breaking through the 12 miles of narrow canyon walls with this torturous twists and turns, backbreaking labor in Death Valley adjacent desert of Amargosa Canyon.
You could just say Death Valley. It's the same amount of hot.
It is terribly hot. So they bust through in 1907 after all sorts of issues. Heat stroke, snow, railroad strikes, torrents of rain, gold fever, and after all that in May, they finished the line.
Wow. And that's what I love about... So I was on Twitter, like, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and somebody was like, how the hell is there a freeze warning in Nevada? And I need to explain to people, listen, there's more than just what it... Nevada's more than just Las Vegas. It is hot as shit here, but it's also cold in places. So cold that it almost kills Hawkeye with the snow tractor.
Oh, you mean in the Sierra Nevadas?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, what's his name? Who got crushed? He was
I can't
Hawkeye.
remember his name. I can see his face. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Jeremy Renner cold. So there's Nicolas Cage hot. And then there's Jeremy Renner cold. There's
Two polar opposites.
At least two different biomes in the Nevada
It's
state.
a big state.
It is a massive state. We can't go to most of it because it's federally government-controlled land that is fenced off. But it's big. It's massive. As a matter of fact, now would be a good time to bring up the secret fourth part of our Wild West history, and that is that we are going to cover the Nevada test site, the Nevada nuclear above and below ground testing, downwinders, and that's the next episode. I just wanted to surprise you with that. I wrote that whole script.
It's so secret, even I didn't know about it. Wow!
Yeah. It's got the aliens, it's got all of that stuff, and my own personal history of growing up in a house with bugged phones and people across the street that were supposed to shoot my dad if he talked to anybody Russian.
But that's next week.
That's next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So surprise.
Russian. Oh my God. Well, talk about pulling the rug out. Holy shit.
Yeah. So that's next week.
Yeah. But back to old-timey Nevada before there were aliens and nuclear explosions.
Get out of there, kid. We got to build a parking lot where you kids are playing. Yeah, back to there. Got it.
Oh my God, my brain is just like, what are words?
Sorry to spring the alien episode on you.
That's okay. So in May of 1907, they finished the line ending in
Tonopah.
It's a Paiute word meaning wildcat.
Wow.
It's named in honor of the Paiute chief whose people's land the railroad was on.
Mm-hmm.
Tonopah led one of the largest Native American settlements. Tonopah led one of the largest Native American settlements in the region for more than 50 years.
That's right. They brought a bunch of people to one area, which is now Tonopah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. No, I appreciate you saying that. So 2 years after his death, the Tonopah mines made it a company town and a railway stop. I don't know if I should say, but a company town means that
slavery with extra steps,
and that the natives were no longer allowed in that town.
But Tonopah, the man himself, was by all accounts awesome, an awesome person who would and often did give the shirt off of his back to anybody in need and would help them to find the resources they needed. Kind of a hero to the native Nevadans here, because he really was one of the first people to be like, no, we need to have agency for our people. Everybody needs a share here, and everybody needs to get along. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wonderful history, and I'm glad that
the people that he brought together, they took advantage of and slowly killed off. I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, which is exactly what I wrote down here.
I'm so sorry.
And it's a side note in this tale of torture that was the American Southwest in the early 1900s.
Yeah, and it's gotten better.
Yeah, I guess.
Question mark. I love how we end with the upward inflection. It's gotten better?
So on that note, let's just stop right here and talk about the Queen of the Desert.
Oh, here she is. Oh, my favorite.
So, I did a lot of research trying to find more on this woman, who was absolutely fascinating, and I couldn't find her, because apparently there's another Queen of the Desert that was in Arabia.
Oh.
And she did a lot more than just bathe outside. So why don't you tell some stories about this Queen of the Desert here in Nevada?
Queen of the Desert. What town was she in?
Yet again, couldn't find it. So
okay, so it was one of these railroad towns. I want to say it was Ludlow. It might not have been Ludlow, but okay, so the Queen of the Desert, who ran this like hotel, it was the only hotel for miles, and she was famous, like absolutely locally famous for not only being a great cook, but also being like super strong. Like,
so she wasn't a madam. She was just a hotel.
Yeah,
lady
she was not a madam.
with a good cook. Okay,
And a good cook, and also a really good card player, from what I'm understanding.
The picture I saw of her, she was built.
Yes.
Like,
So what she was known for, she could pick up a quarter of a calf. So like a quarter-sized calf, like so a baby cow that weighs like 150 pounds. She'd pick it up and just carry it home. It wouldn't matter where she was, she could do that. Like, so like if your wagon was stuck in the mud, which happened a lot, she would be one of those people that would go over and just basically pick up the wagon. Mm-hmm. But she was also famous for having like, she just did not give a fuck. She was like, it's hot outside, there wasn't a whole lot of places to bathe, so she would get her husband to like hose her down in the middle of like in her front yard. Because
there was no fences, there was no, it was just houses and then the desert.
And she just did not give a fuck. And I love her for that. And I don't
they
know.
talked about her for a while too.
Yeah. And she's a legend here. There's also the Silver Queen, which is a mine in Tonopah, which is, I mean, there's no correlation except for the Silver Queen mine had to go through the Queen of the Desert's hotel to get.
It's funny that you brought that up because the Silver Queen was another one of the stories that I ran into when I was looking for the Queen of the Desert. Mm-hmm. They're like, did you mean the Silver Queen mine? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I want to know more about the lady who bathed outside with the hose.
This lady, the forerunner.
And Google does not like that.
The Benjamin Franklin of the West.
I swear.
Well, the more I find out about Benjamin Franklin, that dude was just out there,
You mean his air baths? Or do you mean the book of prostitutes that he had published?
And widows. Don't forget.
And widows. Yeah, and
he said
ranked them.
He said something like, there is nothing like the loving you get from an older woman who is bereft of a husband. Mm-hmm. Benjamin Franklin was a fuckboy. Yeah. Like, he was a... Okay, yeah.
Free thinker indeed.
Yeah, so you start thinking about the key and the kite that he didn't hold. He made, like... somebody else hold it. That's fuckboy behavior. All of it.
I have this great idea. Here, you hold this.
Here, hold this. Benjamin Franklin, fuckboy. My book's coming out. It'll be out probably in August. It's a biopic. Sort of like Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Slayer. Like, kind of like that. Hunter. Sorry. It's going to be kind of like that, except it's just going to be Benjamin Franklin telling the real story.
As he air bathes. Oh my gosh.
Well, and bathes. People called him a freak because he took a bath every day. They were like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, but this was during the times where they took maybe 2 baths a year.
Right. And he was like, you guys are gross. I have to wash all this prostitute off of me. Because that's the other thing he was doing when he wasn't making bifocals and trying to electrocute children in the wind. Is just a never-ending slew of bathhouses, madams, widows.
Well, how do you think he wrote the book on rating the prostitutes and widows?
And it wasn't just this country. Oh my God, the man was famous in London. So much so they thought he was a serial killer.
Didn't he spend like 15 years in Paris as well?
Yeah.
To the point where they're like, dude, are you going to go somewhere else?
We've had enough of your syphilis, sir. You must leave.
But anyways, back to Frankie.
I didn't know that he had syphilis. I'm just...
It was a wild time.
It was
People
a wild
did some crazy stuff.
That's why they called it the Wild West.
I swear it's because there weren't cameras. Anyways, not like today.
I mean, who's going to rob a bank and like wait 30 seconds for the...
Hold still!
Hold up. Don't smile.
Don't smile!
The fuse is burning down.
You know what I mean.
I do.
So, back to Frankie.
Frankie.
So, after going through all these problems to create a railway line to the boom towns, he also lost his wife. Mm-hmm. The San Francisco earthquake and fire of 1906 devastated his company offices.
Turns out building in Oakland wasn't a good idea.
Not so much. No. His refineries were running out of borax, and his old mine was nearly depleted.
Mm-hmm.
All of this, and the TNT still was 28 miles from the new mine.
The Lila Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, the one near the Black Hills in Death... Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Being the cantankerous old-timer that he was, Smith didn't let all that stop him from getting his goal met. Mm-hmm. He had his men hook up the 20 mules to the old borax wagon and pull this heavy stuff to the approaching railway line.
Which is how he did it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yep.
I mean...
He just went back to his old tricks.
You want to talk about mules like I ain't got none? What you think I sold them all? Mad that I stay well off?
Nice.
Sorry.
So they pulled the ore to the railway for 2 months. In July and August, to be exact.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Those poor mules.
Yeah.
Those poor mules.
And to add insult to injury, or maybe not, this was the last time borax was hauled by mules. Ever.
Thank God. First and foremost, I don't want to think about how many mules went blind from hauling borax.
Yeah.
Or
couldn't breathe.
Not just the drivers of these wagons, but also the mules.
Yeah.
Like, if the wind was blowing behind them, that would, I don't know. It's just terrible.
Approaching the mines, there'd be a whole bunch of... it's just all over the place. Yeah.
Just talk about, friend of the pod, horse murder, yet again. It's just terrible.
Mules, close enough.
Well, they're half horses, aren't they?
I don't know.
No, I thought that they were a hybrid between horses and...
Oh, that's right. That's right. Donkeys.
Donkeys.
Yeah, they're a hybrid between donkeys and horses, which is a mule. Yeah.
Okay, so horse murder, now 50% off.
Oh. On the hoof. Anyways. In August of 1907, the TNT pulled into its stop at Death Valley Junction. Woo-hoo. Almost 2 years to the date, Smith completed the line and was hauling his borax over his own standard gauge line.
Finally.
All of that trouble.
All of that
problem.
It took us a podcast and a half to get here.
Now, we haven't forgotten about Smith's rivalry with Clark, have we?
Oh, I did.
Clark beat Smith to Beatty with his bullfrog line, and now that Smith had his borax being hauled by his own line, Smith continued to build his TNT to Beatty.
Yep, because why not? Got to get up to those boom towns.
Right, because that was his dream, right? Mm-hmm. They were only 8 miles away from connecting it when the Panic of 1907 happened.
The Panic of 1907. Oh my God, the most disastrous thing to ever happen to mining ever before or since in this country. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you talk about the...
Very brief little bit here. So I guess what started all of it was the Knickerbocker Trust Bank.
In New York, yeah.
In New York, closed its doors because it paid out more than $10 million to panic customers. Uh-huh. So because of the crash, the TNT pulled into the stop just south of Rhyolite at 3 p.m. on October 7th to zero fanfare.
Right. Okay, so...
This is why.
So what happened was during the Panic of 1907, speculation on all kinds of mineral wealth, like the prices on, stuff like aluminum, steel, like they just went crazy because people were trying to sell all of their holdings that they had in those stocks, which caused the stock market to flip the absolute fuck out. Then the Knickerbocker Bank closed its doors because they were like, we can't give out any more money to people who are like panicked trying to pull their money out.
Right.
This caused a cascade effect. Now, we talk about, Black Friday being, October 29th, 1929, and that stock market crash that led to a Great Depression. Nobody really ever talks about the Panic of 1907. Which in its own effect was like a mini depression that this sparked off.
It was catastrophic to a lot of different things as well.
But specifically, and in this context, to the mining in Nevada, California, New Mexico, Colorado, all of these places that were admittedly booming in the time, pulling ore and wealth out of the ground. The Panic of 1907 made it so unprofitable to mine the ore out of the ground that even a gold mine couldn't be profitable in that time.
Right.
You couldn't move it to where you needed to be. The steel was you couldn't build a railroad. You you couldn't even buy parts to build wagons in that time because everybody was trying to sell everything they had and nobody was buying anything. So the Panic of 1907, we still haven't really recovered in Nevada from that. To the point, what I'm trying to say is the only reason they stopped mining the gold and the silver here in Nevada was the Panic of 1907.
Right.
The gold and silver didn't run out.
No.
It just became too unprofitable to get it out of Nevada or to get it out of California, Colorado, or whatever.
Right.
And that's just one of the most shocking things to me is like when people are like, oh, well, the gold rush is over. Well, yeah, it is, but not for why you think it is. Like, they didn't run out of gold. They didn't run out of silver. They didn't run out of platinum, palladium, nickel.
Well, there was multiple bangs all at once that happened. So 1907 was the Panic of 1907, right?
Then the gold standard.
Then the gold standard, and then we ended up in World War I.
That's right.
Right? And then all of the stuff that came with that, because there were steel tariffs and food tariffs and all the stuff.
And then there was this big shift from mining for gold, silver, all of these things to mining for things like tin and for, iron to make steel for planes and aircraft carriers and things like that. And so these really these really expensive minerals got pushed to the wayside, and it kind of baffles me to this day that people don't realize that they push those minerals to the side, but they're still here.
Right.
I'm not saying for everybody to advocate to come out here and gold mine or silver mine because it's all privately owned, but what I'm trying to say is the shit's still here.
Well, number one, it's privately owned, and number two, any ore that's in the earth is finite. Like, when you pull it out, you pull it out. So I'm okay with it sitting there. But I'm glad that you brought these up because, when you hear about the gold rush, right, you don't, or at least I didn't ever really think about, oh, well, why did that stop? Well, there was a lot of different mitigating factors.
Well, we have another gold rush that's happening right now in our state, and that's for lithium. Because we have lithium, and we have a special kind of heavy salt that they can use for salt batteries that they mine up by, I want to say it's up by rhyolite.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the problem is because of the Panic of 1907 and the fall of all of that infrastructure, now it's even harder to get things that we need, like, lithium for our batteries out. Yeah. Because of the Panic of 1907. I'm just trying to bring it roundabout as to why we're still having the problems. Like, there's still scars on the tissue of the skin of Nevada.
Absolutely.
Because of the Panic of 1907. Like, there's railroads that don't go anywhere. There's towns that just disappeared overnight.
Which is kind of close to what I was going to talk about.
I'm so sorry.
No. I appreciate that, though, because it works really well. Like, the boomtowns that Smith and Clark were both banking on to bring in profit started drying up for many different factors that we just covered, just now.
Yeah.
Smith was a little better off than Clark because he had the profits from his borax mine floating him.
Right, because they always needed borax. And also, the conglomerate that he was part of was actually in England. So, it was their supply and demand that they were filling.
Right.
Not so much the American supply and demand.
Right. So, he decided to basically stick it to Clark and severely undercut the ticket rates.
Yep.
Competing with Clark's line. I didn't write this in here, but I thought it was really funny because Clark's line was $35 one way from Las Vegas to Beatty.
Right.
But Clark's line, which wasn't from Vegas, remember it was from California to Beatty, was 80 miles shorter.
Yeah, and it was like $26.
$23. Yeah.
And the ride was so much smoother, and they had service. I actually grew up hearing stories of the TNT.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. People that, because I grew up, so Tonopah was the original mining town. It started as a mining town, and if it wasn't for the test site and nuclear testing and all of that, it might have disappeared, much like Goldfield or Beatty, which there's still people that live in these towns, but they're almost ghost towns.
Yeah.
All you have to do is a cursory glance of all the ghost towns in Nevada, and there's a bunch of them.
It's crazy going there. Sorry if I cut you off.
No.
Goldfield itself, when you took me there driving through. I would have sworn that it was 500 years old because of the rocks, the way that they used to build the houses.
Yeah, because they literally used anything they could find to build. And then it all burned down, which happens a lot in Nevada. I mean, but the point that I'm trying to say is the only thing that saved Tonopah from becoming a ghost town was the U.S. government making the test site so close, which is, spoiler alert for the upcoming episode, is how I came into this picture. Right. Because both of my parents worked at the test site. And my dad also worked at a silver mine.
And didn't your grandpa also own a mine?
My grandpa did own a gold mine that he didn't
get anything out of.
Well, no, it had gold in it, but he couldn't afford to, hire people to go down there. It was dangerous. It was, he had to have the USGS come out and make sure that he could even mine in the area because they had done so much blasting in the area.
Oh, my.
Huge, underground caverns of rock that are, incredibly destabilized where my grandfather's mine was. And that's also where we dug a well, or drilled a well, which is how I have drilling rig experience.
I was going to tell them about how desolate and in the middle of nowhere it is, and how there really isn't a hospital or anything like that, and then you just said that. And so basically, nothing has changed in 100 years.
Nothing has changed.
We've just added nukes to the pot.
And we have internet.
Yay! So anyways, on top of being around 100 miles shorter, Smith offered the riders a better experience. And we talked about Clark's line being late. So passengers had to stay in Vegas.
Yes, because more often than not, when they pulled into Las Vegas, they could see their connecting train pulling out of Las Vegas. And a lot of people speculated that was on purpose because, Clark had an interest in the hotels in the area.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, they all tie back to one another, don't they?
It's all agreed.
Doesn't matter what century it's in. So, yeah. But I think it's hilarious that they'd have to stay for a day or two to spend their money when they were trying to save everything they could to get up there to do whatever they had to.
That's why you take the TNT. Which is also why Clark's Railroad started to suffer.
Yeah, and the return train would take them north to Goldfield. Wouldn't even bring them back to Vegas. So Smith made better stops for the passengers.
That's right.
The Las Vegas Age newspaper boasted that because of the railroad, Death Valley, that awful abyss, will be robbed of its terrors. They will soon flourish modern hotels, town lot fees, and beer gardens. All the luxuries of civilization.
And that really did happen. Listen, are we going to talk about Scotty's Castle?
We're going to get there.
Okay. Whoa.
What?
Did you hear that?
What was it?
The spirit of capitalism reminding us it's time to do an ad break.
Oh, quiet but persistent.
The ghost of capitalism present. Nice. And we're back. Next time, bring the chains out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or add chains in post. Future Lyndsay, while you're editing this, hey, how you doing? We could really use some chains here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the TNT was loved by locals, but it was also non-profitable.
Well, yeah, because it's really a road to nowhere. As someone who's from nowhere,
He can really tell you.
It's a road to nowhere. I mean, you go to Tonopah, go see the museum, by all means. I mean, go to the station house. They have really
Oh my God, the food is so good there.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, don't go out there. There's a clown motel I helped my grandpa put the plumbing in for that's, I guess, world famous. So there's also that place with the giant M80
Oh, that's right.
So there's a restaurant attached to a brothel that is amazing.
They have great burgers.
They have unexpectedly good burgers. Like, you would not expect to get the finest burger in Nevada.
And fun fireworks.
Together. At hey, if you're in the middle of the desert and you see a giant firecracker, right there is, they have this chicken guacamole burger.
Oh, it was so good.
It was so good. Anyway.
So, by 1912, The creditors were knocking on
Also,
Smith's
there's legal
door.
prostitution at that place. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's in Armagosa Valley,
Yeah,
which is
like one of the only places in the country where prostitution is legal. I think we need to tell you that also.
Yes.
The brothel is not like that's a normal thing here.
that's in that county.
Well, where I'm from.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I lived in a county that got prostitution got illegalized shortly before I was born.
Right. It was legal and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't. There was still bunches of houses of ill repute all around Tonopah when I was growing up.
You grew up in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, like I said, by 1912, the creditors were knocking on Smith's door because he had overextended himself and he was going bankrupt.
Which means he didn't have a phone for them to call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Can you imagine being a bill collector and like old timey, like ring, ring, ring? I need you to be connected to Dakota 305.
We're sorry, sir, but that line's no longer expecting calls.
Or they pick up and be like, what's that? And you're like, you owe us money for the railroad. Or because we had to scream into the bell.
Right. And it was his English shareholders.
Oh,
so
so that would be even worse because those phone calls.
Tally-ho, yes.
I need subtitles. I don't know about you. Anyway,
So,
go ahead.
when World War I broke out, the United States Railroad Agency took over the nation's railroads.
Oh, is this where they Dick Clark over? Because this is awesome. Not Dick Clark, the guy that did American Bandstand, but they Dick him over, and it's awesome. Okay.
That included the TNT and the Las Vegas and
the LV&T?
LV&T, yeah. So they used the railroads for demonstrations of World War I weaponry, like tanks.
Yeah, they took a bunch of these like mini tanks out to places that were like Ryan.
Or Rhyolite.
Or, well, more Ryan than the place called Ryan. And they like did like little demonstrations so that the people like, the children like me were like, oh, I wasn't there. But they were like, oh my God, look at the weapons. Oh, and it was
I saw pictures of it, yeah.
It was not what they used in the battlefront or any of that kind of stuff. It was garbage. But it impressed the children around the railroad, which was, let's be honest, that was the whole point the whole time.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you,
spend
okay?
all those millions of dollars. What's up?
In 1918, okay, I took care of a lady who was alive during that time, and she very loudly boasted to me that there was nothing to play with as a kid, except for a stick, and if you were lucky, a round ring from a barrel. So yeah, of course these tanks would be fascinating.
Listen, as a child that grew up throwing bottles at my little sister... I also come from a place where there was an absence of toys. Old-timey stuff. Raina, if you're listening. She also threw bottles at me. I have a scar over my eyebrow from her. Anyway. We're just tougher.
Anyway.
I don't want to, devolve this into, a Gen X thing of, who's tougher, but, come on. She threw bottles at me.
Okay, middle child. So... The government recommended abandonment for Clark's line, saying that they saw no value in the Las Vegas and Tonopah line.
So they abandoned his whole railway and tore up all the steel.
Hold on. This part is the best of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. They literally wrote saying that the line was not, saying it was not considered essential or necessary. And then they tore it all up. And okay, so he got to recoup some of his costs because he sold a lot of the railroad shit to East Coast railways and things like that. So he actually recouped most of his costs that he put into the railroad. Mm-hmm. But they tore it up on Nevada Day, also known as Halloween. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. The irony.
The
levels of irony.
They were trying to do it as an insult. I mean, the insult would have been better if they did it without giving him money. But yeah, they ripped up his railroad. And for a long time, the TNT was the only railroad. Because they're like, this actually makes sense to have this.
Right. And so in a way, Smith did win. I mean,
not
sort of.
in the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Clark did recoup most of his costs. That kind of makes my Schadenfreude go, womp womp.
It wasn't Smith, it was Clark.
I'm sorry.
Recouped most of his costs.
Clark, yeah.
Smith did not recoup any of his costs.
Hey, you're jumping the line.
Sorry.
In the 1920s, the Borax line was expanded to a baby gauge line that connected with Smith's Death Valley line that then was loaded on the TNT, which worked for 7 years. But then a bigger borax mine was found in 1927, 150 miles from Death Valley to Kramer Junction in the Mojave Desert.
Yep.
And just like that, the TNT lost its reason for existence.
Yeah, he literally built the railroad, his own railroad that took out his other railroad.
Yeah.
Like he slit the throat of one railroad with another railroad.
Exactly.
So baby gauge. Do you know what baby gauge means?
It's a smaller gauged line.
It's a gauge that literally will fit inside of the tracks of the other.
I've seen those.
Yeah, and that's for mining.
Okay.
That's to haul mining ore to a bigger railroad so that you
Okay.
can just put it directly onto the cars.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I've seen the switchover carts. They're amazing. They're not amazing, but they're amazing to my brain. Trains!
Autism. They tried to keep the line open. What?
That's why I like trains.
Oh, baby. You just now figured that out?
Oh, it's
I
suddenly
love you.
too loud in here.
Hey, you break my brain on a daily basis. I guess it's only fair.
Yep, and there's who else knows about what things like baby gauge are. Oh, God, I need to stop.
It's okay. It's all right.
You're
Okay.
overstimulated.
So,
You might need to take a break.
where's your safe drink?
Here it is. Thank you, Shasta,
So,
friend of the pod.
they tried to keep the line open by shipping other things like mine ore, steel rails for other lines being built in the west.
Yep.
They even tried marketing Death Valley as a tourist attraction
Which is where I come to the picture.
by building the Furnace Creek Inn.
I want to go there so bad.
Have you? Oh my God, the picture. It's still there, by the way.
It's still there. They have a swimming pool. It's in the middle of the desert. Like
It looks like a castle
it kind of, it kind of looks like a Spanish mission mixed with like a castle
with pools.
with pools.
It's really cool.
Oh, it's so we need to go there.
So, during the 1920s, tourists would ride the TNT into the heart of the desert, but would stop at these junctions that had boarding houses or inns. And if you get the chance, I would highly recommend Googling image of the Furnace Creek Inn. It's really cool.
Also, Scotty's Castle. Scotty's Castle. We should do an episode just about Scotty. This he was a self-described swindler.
Okay.
And he managed to talk like this guy who was basically a billionaire at the time that the perfect place to build a resort was out in the middle of Death Valley. And
Oh, jeez.
it's still to this day known as Scotty's Castle because, well, he lived there. He wound up making it for himself.
Okay. Nobody wanted to go visit. He's like, fine, I'll live in it myself.
And you need to go there because it's amazing. Like, John Wayne was out there. Like, everybody from the Hollywood went out to Scotty's Castle.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. And
It's not ringing a bell for me, but that is completely fine.
it's on the way to Tonopah.
Oh.
Right past the sand dunes.
Oh, yeah, that place. So, the railroad ran into more issues when Silver Lake flooded.
There it is.
Again.
Water come once, water will come again.
Yep, just like the indigenous tribe warned them it would.
And then they had to rebuild the tracks.
Yep, twice. So it
Twice.
flooded out in 1910 and 1916.
So they wound up building the tracks to where the native peoples told them they should build it originally.
Right.
And then they never had a problem.
Not a problem. Surprise.
Weird.
So the trip from Bakersfield to the inn was a sight to be seen.
Yes.
Talk about being a tourist during that time. Oh my God. Like, not only are they not riding the wagons anymore,
Right.
they're on this slow moving train.
Air-conditioned train with fans and dining cars.
Food, drinks.
Okay, so there were so many resorts that popped up in Death Valley during this time. Around, actually, one of Smith's old mines. Did we already talk about how Smith died penniless?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, but anyway. So people get a hold of his mines, and they make resorts out of them. And they even have mine tours that are famous.
Actually, yeah.
Where they would actually pull people through the mines where they could see the ore still sparkling.
They said that one of these stops, they had a place where you could stay in an old miner's bunker.
That's right.
And take a tour through the old mine in Death Valley.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was like a Disneyland before Disneyland was a
That
thing.
was in Ryan.
Ryan, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a video of it. I'm like, what?
Yeah. This whole area during the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s Well, there was tourism for different reasons that I get into in the next episode about nuclear tourism. But some of them were actually like mining enthusiasts, railroad enthusiasts. It was a golden age. If you wanted to ride a steam locomotive, they still had them. The TNT still ran.
Well, and that's one of the things for my mind. I guess that the disconnect or cognitive dissonance comes into play because I keep thinking, oh, the Old West, 1800s. Well, yeah, but 1907, 1912.
That was the tail end
still
of it.
right in that, you know? Like,
Even in my childhood, there were people that lived around Tonopah, in and around Tonopah, that got around by horse. When I tell people, like when I had to move from here to from Tonopah to here, and I was like, yeah, but where do people park their horses? And what?
Who do what?
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, well, where I come from, people ride horses, and like in front of like the A-Bar L, you need a place for them to tie up their horse.
Not here, son.
What the hell is the A-Bar L? Okay, so it was like a little frontier store where I got most of my clothes growing up because that's the kind of town I grew up in. Anyway, my whole point is it was culture shock, but there are still, or were when I was a child, people that rode horseback to and from the grocery store. Anyway.
Same.
Same.
But yeah, we're weird.
We're weird.
They tried, bringing in tourists, shipping all this other stuff, but it wasn't enough to keep the line afloat.
Yeah.
So they thought for a very short period of time that they'd bring in the Galloping Goose.
The Galloping Goose, the diesel-powered train car that had a loud-ass whistle.
It had a horn that would, quote, knock your socks off.
Yeah. And made anybody living next to the railroad hate it immediately. Hate it or love it to death because it was a legendary thing.
Was a mixed bag, yeah.
I heard about the Galloping Goose from people that were old-timers in Tonopah, and they revered
more
it.
bleed over, yeah. So year after year, the TNT continued to show losses. The cars now brought in the tourists, and the trucks brought the freight.
Yeah, because as soon as freeways were invented...
Right, because they took
highways.
over, the freeways took over, or highways took over a lot of the old, abandoned or torn up railroad lines, like the I-95.
So it's just like that movie Cars, but if they were to do like the prequel to Cars, which would be trains. So, they're talking about how the Route 66, oh my God, they moved a freeway and the town just like starves and dies. Yeah, they should do the prequel to Route 66 and Cars with trains.
Trains, yeah.
Wait.
Did they do that?
No, Thomas is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by 1931, the man who had fought so hard to make a railroad across the harshest desert in America died.
Oh.
Francis Marion Smith died, and his things were auctioned off to pay his debts.
Yep, because he died penniless and running from the creditors. Like anybody worth note should die. Listen. The best people to read about in history are the ones that are like, yeah, the creditors couldn't find him for years.
Right.
Like,
put a little suspense to it.
Yeah, he's got like 6 mansions, and he's like, I'm not giving the bill collector shit.
Ha!
try to find me in France, hoes, and then burp, like. But no, he actually died really poor, and like his daughter had to take care of him.
It was sad.
Really sad.
And unfortunately, 8 years after he passed, the Tonopah and Tidewater finally applied to abandon the line.
Yeah.
Which was met by protest and disappointment by the locals.
Because the locals had come to rely on the TNT to bring things like groceries and, their Aunt Edna from San Diego.
Right.
Right.
But some were happy to see it go, saying it lived up to the derogatory name it had earned over the years of the Tired and Tardy.
The old Tired and Tardy. Yep.
June 14th, 1940, the last run of the TNT ran. The engines and cars were scrapped or sold away, some going as far away as Egypt.
Wow.
The lines were pulled up and melted down to aid the war efforts, and the TNT joined the very long list of ghost town stories of the Southwest.
Yep.
The so-called dreams of the people changed the landscape of the Southwest, turning it into dust-covered memories. Remember Dinah?
Yes, I do.
The old steam engine, yeah. You can still see it today along with other really cool mining things at the entrance to Furnish Creek Ranch. The roadbed can still be seen in some places near Vegas, but most of it was taken up by the I-95, like
the
I
Clark
said.
Railroad, yeah, the LV&T. They used I-95 North. That's literally over where the tracks were laid for the LV&T.
I mixed up the two. My apologies.
Well,
Thank
actually,
you.
when you get up by Beatty, there are sections of the T&T that became I-95.
Road.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So many remnants of the Great Race is just nothing but a ghostly memory.
Yeah. So, well, there's a hiking trail that now you can take through the Armagosa Canyon.
The BLM maintained one, yeah.
Yeah, and you can literally walk right where those people were spitting water on each other to, like, get through that. That's pretty cool.
I want to go.
Same, but I'm waiting for it to cool off because right now, unless you've got a fiddle of gold that you're trying to win, I don't recommend going outside. That's a devil reference.
I know, yeah.
For the people at home. Yeah, I mean, it all gets, like, pulled into the stream of history where things become dusty, rusty, and lost to time.
Right, but also one of the things that hit me hard with this is it wasn't that long ago.
No.
When you really stop to think about it. Like, history, for some reason, seems like it's so far away. But no, we're talking our grandparents' parents.
Right. All of this stuff happened right before World War I and at the beginning of World War I. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not ancient history.
Grandparents' parents would be great-grandparents. Sorry, I know that one.
My
but
great-grandparents, they rode, even though they weren't from the area, they rode the TNT.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Uh-huh.
It just goes to show the things that humans can do when they set their mind to it, and the horrible cost sometimes that comes with it is insane. But we remembered these people.
Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing is we're talking about them right now. So even if you all are the only ones that hear about the Queen of the Desert being able to pick up a baby cow and take it home,
right?
Like, you know about that. It's a thing you know now. And she'll live on as long as you know about it. And if you tell anybody about this naked bathing lady that would carry livestock around, I mean, there you go.
Right?
Spread the cheer.
Live in infamy.
I think it's time to take a break.
We already did an ad break.
Okay, fine. So maybe just a break.
A break?
Yeah. Tell me you don't have to pee.
Oh, fine. We'll be right back.
And we're back.
And it's good to be back.
I had to go out and check on my secret garden. The secret garden that I've got from the air conditioning dripping.
Secret garden.
Where I accidentally planted a corn. One corn. And
the birds helped.
The birds helped. But I had to go out and run out and check on it real quick to see if it was still alive. And it's still doing great.
Because it's hot outside.
My secret corn is doing great. For anybody that cares at home, it's my little oasis in the middle of, like, you can hear gunshots. It's raised around gunshots. So
it's growing up rough, or?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Okay.
It was a little corny.
Welcome back. It's good to be back because we have just wandered into the part of the show that we like to call the Karmic Suggestion Box.
Suggestion Box.
The part of the show where we like to ask Karma to fill in the gaps of justice and deliver it in whimsical and hopefully funny ways.
Yeah.
Then we like to flip around real quick and do a crazy Ivan.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you. That's the part where we like to ask Karma to do something good for someone who is doing good.
That one.
Yes.
This week, I would like to focus on those who are reaching out and checking on your friends. In this attention-based economy, it's easy to see a person's life from a social media post. But do those who take the extra time out of your busy lives to text, call, connect with your loved ones, and check in on their mental health and well-being? Karma, please bless them with 5 golden minutes of super speed. Like when Mario gets... Okay.
Got the zoomies going on.
The dog is trying to add to the karmic suggestion. So, yeah.
Rusty. Okay.
So, like when Mario gets the Star of Invincibility. Like that. But you have the ability to focus your mind, time, and energy on whatever they wish for 5 minutes. Choose, but choose wisely.
That sounds really nice. I would take advantage of that.
Same.
For my karmic suggestion this week, I would like to ask that justice reaches out and finds people who lock their pets in a hot car on a hot day.
Yeah, that one.
Karma, please reach out to these people and make it so every time they pee, they also sneeze uncontrollably at the same time.
Ooh. Okay.
So Lindsay's only doing positive karma this week.
Apparently, because fuck negative karma. Because you know what? Yeah, 2 positives. Shoot, for my other crazy Ivan, we're gonna go back to the positive.
It's becoming quite apparent that she was really uncomfortable with writing the negative karma portion of this week.
Everything's so damn negative.
So she's just gonna write 2 good ones. I'm here for it.
My Pollyanna brain's like, please give me positive, please.
Okay.
So I want to highlight all of the LGBTQ plus pet parents. Nobody does it quite like you guys. You are all the best, and happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month.
Anyways, may they gain 1 hour a day that they are able to understand and speak to their fur babies. So let it be done.
Ooh, that's a good one. Anyway, okay, so for my good karma this week, I want to give the good vibe that we normally end on this show on. I want to give that good vibe to anybody that's listening to this right now. I want not just that we're leaving you with these vibes. Maybe you find these vibes kind of like, I don't know, like jelly beans that don't lead to like a Hansel and Gretel murder palace, but like that lead you to an affirmation of yourself in finding a personal truth or happiness. So anybody listening to this, you're the one I'm doing the positive karma for today.
Yes.
May you find nuggets of happiness wherever you go. But time limited, because that's how karma works. So for the next 30 days. So try to take advantage while you can. So if you find a little bubble of happiness on the ground, pick it up. It's yours.
All the little things. I love that.
And, well, that's it. That's the end of our show today.
So like every week.
So like, well, I was going to say, I mean, like, it's a good time to like say, hey, our new dog Rusty, who wanted to be part of the show today.
Yes.
Really bad.
Very badly.
I'd just like to shout him out really quick. Hey, buddy. How
Hi,
you doing?
buddy.
Yep.
He's wagging. He's
wagging
saying
his
hello.
tail. Besides that, we'd like to always leave you with like good vibes, hard to find vibes, normally hard to find vibes, legendary vibes, vault vibes if you want to go Borderlands.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like
The Easter egg vibes.
Easter egg vibes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're leaving you with those vibes. Always remember, if you're arrested, shut up. Don't
Lawyer.
say anything. They're not your friends. It's not the time to make new friends.
Nope.
Lawyer or phone call is the only... You don't even have to say you speak English or don't speak English. Just lawyer and phone call. It's self-evident right there.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
It will be used against you in a court of law.
Donk donk. Anyways.
Dunk, yeah, so keep your head on a swivel. And as always, stay...
Elusive. Elusive History Podcast was written by Lyndsay Burnett. Music by Levi Van Squake. Produced by Lyndsay Burnett.